All right, so I'm going to get started.
A star is born.
Should I tap dance? No. My name is Zaner Bloser. I'm National Literacy Manager for Zaner Bloser Publishers. We have Belinda in the back with us. Belinda's from the San Antonio area. We have James, who is also from the Houston area with me. So we are so glad you're here today to talk to us or share, allowing us to share with you our handwriting in our Spanish program, in handwriting and our spelling program. So let's begin with food for thought or points to ponder. Just something to think about. Can you guys relate to any of this? Can you guys relate to any of these points? Yeah, which one? All of them, maybe. The last one. I can relate to the middle one. My son's getting married, and the fiance took it upon herself to do the save the dates. And all of our friends were calling and saying, we didn't get the save the dates. Are we invited or not? And I'm thinking, no, Melissa sent them. You are. But we never got them. Well, a few came back, and some never came back. Apparently, her handwriting was so bad on them that we had to buy new postage and mail out new save the dates. And so that increase that the post office gets, they pass it on to us, right? With postage. And then the nearly 20% of hospital prescriptions being sent back, those future doctors are sitting in your classroom. So we're gonna make sure with Zaner Bloser handwriting that your students, the ones who are becoming doctors, will not have this issue, because we will be using our Zaner Bloser handwriting to teach them the proper way to form their letters. And we're going to begin by talking about research. Everything Zaner Bloser does is research-based. When you came in, you were given a handwriting and a spelling brochure. If you'll turn to page 5 of your brochure, we'll talk briefly about research. And I'm going to only talk about bullet number 5 because of time constraints. So what bullet number 5 is talking about, it's talking about keyboarding. What research is finding is that students that have only been keyboarding are not activating all areas of their brain. When they actually use the movement in their bodies to write, they actually retain more information, and not only do they retain more, but more areas of the brain are activated. As a matter of fact, college professors are even saying, don't bring your laptops or iPads to class. I want you guys to write old-fashioned style. And I'm dating myself, but I'm a child of the 80s, and I took notes by hand, and when I went back to my room or the library, I rewrote my notes. What's happening is that when they were keyboarding, they're trying to write everything they hear, but when they are actually writing, they actually can only write so much. So not only are they learning to write, but they're also summarizing along with retaining more. This is one research that really was an aha moment for me. They did a research on surgeons, and what surgeons are saying is that their surgical students are losing their dexterity because they've been keyboarding and not writing. A lot of our future surgeons are having difficulty sewing up their patients. They don't have that pincer grasp. So that's something we are going to get out of the way with our Zaner Bloser handwriting program with our students. As I mentioned, when you came in, you were given this brochures. So let's do a little activity before we go and delve further into our brochures. Everybody got a new pencil, right? So take your pencil and put it in the hand you write with, your dominant hand. Hold it at the tip like this. I want you to flip it by pushing forward and pushing it in between your index and your middle finger, and then grip it. So we are going to tip it, flip it, and grip it. That's a proper handwriting position. And as I mentioned, we do a lot of research. So we work with occupational therapists. And one of the alternatives for your pencil grip is if you take your index and your middle finger, like you're doing a cutting motion, when you open it, you put your pencil in there as well, and you can grip it that way. That's an alternative. Again, it's your thumb, index finger, middle finger, and they sit on your ring finger and pinky. Now, as teachers, when we learn start something, what do? We practice it, right? Typically what we do in our classrooms, we teach our kids and then we practice with it. So today is no different. We're going to practice this, bless you, this new pencil grip. So I want you to turn to page 28 of your brochure, in your handwriting brochure.
It's the last page.
And I want you to think about a person or place that brings you joy. The thing that brings me joy is the ocean. I'm a beach bum, all the way. I could live on the beach. And I want you now, that wonderful pencil grip I just shared with you, I want you to put it in your non-dominant hand. Switch it over to the non-dominant hand. I see some faces. The last instruction is, I want you to spell every fifth word backwards. So if that fifth word is at, instead of writing it A-T, I want you to write it T-A. Every fifth, 10th, 15th word, you will write backwards. I'm going to give you a minute to do this activity. You may begin.
Fifteen seconds.
All right, you may stop. So, let's talk about this experience, this wonderful experience you just had. How did it make you feel? Slow? She said slow. Your face says it all. Your face said it all. Some of y'all were shaking. How else did you feel with this experience? You really had to concentrate on letter formation.
Okay, so I see kids build their letters from the line up, and that's all I was doing.
Oh, so you really
So I
had an
felt like
experience.
I had more control if I knew where I wanted to stop it and then went up. So now maybe I understand why they do that.
Okay, so you
So
were
when I
trying,
was printing, it's from the line up.
you were trying to find a way to control it. That's real good. Someone else? So from what I can understand, from what you're telling me, it was not a positive experience. And this is how your students feel when they haven't had proper handwriting instruction. I had someone tell me once, I was gonna write feline, but that was my fifth word. So I switched it for cat. You did that because it was shorter and easier. And when you think about the assessments they take, don't you get better scores if you express yourself better? Yes, so what we're gonna do with handwriting, Zaner Bloser handwriting, is we're gonna teach you those strokes necessary to help them focus, not on letter formation, but on what they are actually writing. So we're gonna begin by talking about our programs. When you came in, we shared with you your TE for our handwriting program, and La Escritura, which is our Spanish program. I know there's a lot of new things coming down the pikes with the TEKs. We know that many new TEKs, and some have changed. But we don't want you to stress or worry about it, because Zaner Bloser is here. And guess what, guys? We meet these TEKs requirements 100%. Not all companies can say that. This is a point of comparison. As some of you mentioned when you came in, cursive is coming back. It is now a requirement that is introduced in second grade, but also mastered then in second grade. Your students that are in grades 3 through 5 are going to be required now to turn in assignments in cursive. And if the State Board of Education has their way, the students that are now first graders, when they get to be fourth graders, are going to be required to, you know that small test you take in the spring? they're gonna be required to do that writing portion in cursive. And, again, if they have their way, they'll also be required to read some passages in cursive.
But that's not currently in place.
No, I'm
No, I
saying.
mean, even in the future years.
Right,
that's
if they have their
if they
way,
have it.
if they have their way, yeah. But what is turning in assignments in cursive for grades 3 through 5, good question. And when we talk about handwriting, we have to talk about the goal, which is to promote legibility and foster fluency. So as we mentioned during the activity, we don't want them to think about letter formation. We want them to think about what they're writing. So when they think about what they're writing, there's more fluidity, there's more comprehension, and they're able to focus now on what they're writing and not on letter formation and get frustrated like you guys did through the exercise. On page 8 of your brochure, you'll see what we call our hallmark for Zaner Bloser handwriting, which is what I call the blueprint to handwriting success, which are the 4 keys to legibility. The first key is shape. If you look on page 9 of that brochure, you will see the 4 strokes for manuscript and the 4 strokes for cursive. We don't have bunny ears, flying helicopters. We use academic language. We don't have 12 strokes. We have 4 for manuscript and 4 for cursive. So those are the strokes that we will use for letter formation. Size. When you think about size, we're talking about our lines. If you look on page 9, we have a headline, a midline, and a baseline. The headline tells the students where to start and stop their letters. The midline tells them how to differentiate between tall and short letters. Not all programs have a headline and a midline. And we also have color on our lines, if you notice. Color is very important. Research says that it helps them with retention, it helps them with behavior. Many great attributes come from having color. So you'll see our 4 colors when we're instructing our letters in our program. The third one is spacing. Children need to know how to space between letters and spacing between words. Have you guys ever had papers turned in where the word was this big because there was so much space between it? Yes. So with this program, they learn how to work spacing. And our last one is the slant. That's the last key. The slant in our program is for our manuscript. We have a vertical slant for manuscript. We have a forward slant for cursive. And how does that tie in? For beginners, the students will use these 4 keys to evaluate their handwriting. One of these keys appears in every lesson in the handwriting program to help them evaluate their handwriting. So we're giving them some of the ownership for their handwriting. And our handwriting program is based on research. As I mentioned, our vertical slant for manuscript, and we have a forward slant for cursive. Why forward slant? Well, research shows that when they have continuous strokes without picking up, they have more retention. And research also shows that when you have, these are others, when you have a forward slant for manuscript, they get confused more. They start confusing letters. And the vertical slant for cursive is not natural. It's not a natural flow. The forward slant is more of a natural flow. And here is a handwriting research book that we have that we're more than happy to share. If you need one, a lot of our research comes from this book. And remember I said the vertical slant for manuscript? What do they see in the environment when they start recognizing letters? They see a vertical slant for manuscript. You look at your textbooks, magazines, newspapers, whatever they pick up to read online, it's usually a vertical slant. So it's a continuous process. This is a page of our portal. I always get excited when I talk about this. It's one of our favorite pieces. So this is a work text from your student book. This can be downloaded. You can do it from the projector like I'm doing, on the whiteboard, to teach your lesson. Lessons can be taught in 10 to 15 minutes a day. So this is the line for the student work text. If you notice, you have that green dot here for them to practice. But as they progress, that green dot goes away. We pull the scaffold as they improve their writing. You have that red icon at the end of the line. That's reminding them to evaluate their handwriting using one of our 4 keys in the lesson. You have your digital tutor. What this digital tutor does is instruct them. So you could have them in a small group, whole group, as long as they have a smart board, smart phone, iPad, they can use these digital tutors. Let me show you what that looks like.
Lowercase I. 1. Undercurve. 2. Slant. Undercurve. Lift. 3. Dot. Lowercase I.
It appears on the side as well. So how many of you know about skywriting? Skywrite with me. 2 fingers up, hand extended, undercurve, slant, undercurve, lift, dot. Research also shows that when they use their bodies, they are retaining more of the letter formation. And you can also practice it as they're standing in line for the cafeteria, standing in line for the bathroom, you know, seizing those opportunities when you have them. How many of you have bilingual or dual language on your campus? Anyone? Okay. So we are a win-win-win program. Win for the teacher because it's systematic and explicit. 10 to 15 minutes a day can be integrated into your existing curriculum. It's a win for your English speakers and a win for your Spanish speakers as well. And let me show you what the Spanish looks like. Oh, talk about the TEKS real quick. On the teacher page, and not only on the teacher page, but you'll see it on the student page as well. And you see right up here, you have a pencil and an eraser. When they're practicing these letters, they can actually grab the pencil and write, and they can also erase it and continue to practice if they need to. This is Enya. You have the dots where they begin. You have the red icon. You have the digital tutor.
Ñ minúscula. 1. Raya recta para abajo. Raya para arriba. Curva hacia adelante. Raya recta para abajo. Levantar. 2. Curva hacia adelante y a la derecha. Ñ minúscula.
Right. So, TEKS. Now this is a teacher page from the TEs that some of you may have. 3-step lesson plan, model, practice, evaluate, 10 to 15 minutes a day. You have your home practice. You can either download it from the portal or you can use a Blackline Master that comes with the program. But you also have the digital tutor so the parents can follow up with your instruction. You have ELL strategies. And as I mentioned earlier, we work with occupational therapists. There will be strategies from the occupational therapist as well, the TEKS. And not only on the teacher page, but you'll also see them on the student page. And something as small that may not matter initially, but the teacher page and the student page are the same. So you don't have to hunt for pages. You have the worksheet maker. So what we do is teach you the letter, but we're not going to use 20 pages teaching you one letter. Once the letter is mastered, you can move on to our application. And one of the ways we do application is through Worksheet Maker. There are many, many activities there additional that you can do. This one happens to be graphic organizer, alphabetizing, homophones, sentence formation. All of these are on the Worksheet Maker on the portal. But if there's something you want to customize, you can do that too. And then you can also save it on the portal to refer to later. Here are the occupational tips I was working about. But we don't stop there. We integrate it with other content areas. Here it happens to be writing. How many of you have ever gotten a paper you couldn't read? And you get frustrated, right? You know that has a name. It's actually called reader's effect. So we're going to make sure that that reader's effect flies out of your life. As I mentioned, this one's writing. We also tie it into science, social studies, and even math. And there's a lot of integration. Even on the application, you'll see the key to legibility where the students can actually evaluate their writing piece. Remember I mentioned 3rd through 5th, that they actually have, it's required now that they're gonna start turning assignments in cursive in 3 through 5. Well, we integrated that in our program as well. These are historical documents, and what are they written in? Cursive. So they'll be interacting with that. Learning station activities, it's already prepared, ready to go into your center. This happens to be the activity cards that come already laminated. And then you have your portal, my ZB portal for handwriting, that ties into the program. And other things that come, your sentence strip for desk strip with your letters. We have our touch and trace cards that come with activities. A lot of research went into this as well. You know, they used to use the harder one. They used to use maybe, feathery type. But we know that some of our students, such as our autistic students, have difficulty. So this is a material that was researched that all children should be able to relate to and handle. You have your wall cards as well, wall charts. A little story about the Q. In 1986, the Postmaster General came to Zaner Bloser and said, we've got to do something about the Q. It looks like a 2, and a lot of people are getting confused. I'm aging myself, but the Q used to start here and come around, and all of this was open. Well, Zaner Bloser closed it, and that became the norm. So if the Postmaster General came to us, wouldn't you say that we're the gold standard? And then, of course, the lowercase. And then you have these cards, manuscript and cursive on the other side. Most people send these home like in a homework folder to continue with the instruction that we've given them. Just some points to ponder. Here you have comparisons between us and other programs. For example, we have a headline, midline, baseline. Some programs don't have it. This program is so much like us. They liked us so much that they pretty much copied our program. The keys to the strokes, some people have a lot more strokes, and some don't use alphabetic language like we do. And then the cursive. Another point to ponder is copyright. We're the only company with a 2020 copyright. We have full color, and our Spanish program was evaluated by the state. Some were not evaluated by the state. So, point to ponder. So we're gonna move on to spelling and talk about spelling a little bit with your spelling brochure. We have Dr. Gentry. He is the one that wrote our spelling program. He has over 30 years of experience in doing spelling research in early literacy. And he used over 22 different resources to create this program. And why spelling? Well, first of all, it's part of the 2020 proclamation. But spelling what it does is creates a dictionary of the words in the brain, which we call word permanency. What Dr. Gentry says is if they can spell it, then they can read it. And we are here to help you promote literacy success with your students, because handwriting and spelling are prerequisites for literacy success. So we're going to help you help your students. Look at these numbers. What do you think these numbers represent? Everybody says that. I think we think too hard and make it complicated. 26 letters. You're like, oh yeah. And 44 sounds, and 250 ways to spell those, make those sounds, the graphemes. Seems overwhelming, doesn't it? I agree. But when we looked at our research to write this program, we looked at also Dr. Louisa Motes, and she says the best way is to spread the instruction across several grade levels and to do direct instruction. With our handwriting program, spelling program, it's for grades 1 through 6. First grade, every 5th unit is a review. 2nd through 6th, every 6th unit is a review. Now as we review, we don't pull words from the previous units to create our review. What we do is teach you the science of spelling, teach you the skills. And if you learn the science, the skill, then you can read any word with that science. We give you new words. So let me show you what that looks like. In our spelling program, we look at first grade with the long A sound. Consonant, vowel, consonant, silent T like in cane. Grade 2, it's vowel pair, AI like in rain. Grade 3, it's AY, usually found at the end of a syllable like in maybe. Grade 4, it's open syllable, long A like in tornado. Grade 5, it's EI like in neighbor. Grade 6, it's EY found at the end of a syllable like in survey. What does our lesson look like? Well, this is our lesson, our spelling lesson. I want to also point out that for those grades that have cursive, we integrate it into our spelling program as well. First thing we do is introduce a new lesson. So open syllable, long A. This is from 4th grade, by the way. And then we have AI, which is a review, and we have AY, which is a review. So you have new and then 2 review. That's our lesson for 4th grade. This is from a basal. How many ways do you think they do the long A sound in their lesson? Because of time constraints, I'll tell you, 7 ways. To me, even as a teacher, it's overwhelming. This is what our lesson looks like in your TE, which you can find in your brochure on page 18. So the first thing we do is we teach you the science of spelling. And then these are your on-level words. The students would take...
Page 12.
12, thank you.
Page 12 of the brochure.
Okay. The students would take their on-level test, paper, pencil, or online, get the results right away. Based on how well they did, they'll either be on level, below level, or above level for their spelling for the rest of the unit. However, the teacher always teaches from the on-level list. We give you the digital tutor as well for them to study. We have center activities that come with each unit. Again, once they take that test, the differentiation, which I find very important, is for the entire unit. Now, grade level on my portal is just not the pre-test and the post-test. They can also do games, which I'll show you in a minute, but let me show you what a test looks like when they go online. So they're given the word in a sentence. And then it transfers over. So they'll take their test. Once they take the test, the system grades it automatically right away, sends it to the teacher, and lets her know what level that student is on. When you do your lesson plans, you have a 5-day or a 3-day. You know that teachers need the opportunity to choose. You're still covering the skills, but it depends, 10 to 15 minutes a day to teach your lessons. We also have our ELL strategies, TELPAS, same levels as the TELPAS. We have beginning, intermediate, advanced, and advanced high. We also have strategies for Spanish speakers. This one happens to be cognates, words that are the same or about the same. Most people don't know it, but do you realize that English and Spanish are about 80% the same language? It was kind of hard for me to ingest when I heard it. I'm a second language learner. Spanish is my first language. But there was so much that I know I didn't get initially. And the last thing we get is the humor. So my friends were laughing and I was like, am I supposed to laugh at this? Because humor is the last thing that transfers. On our portal also, you have the menu, which some people call tic-tac-toe. Students can pick 3 items to do. This is what it looks like filled out with our activities from our program. You can download this from the portal. And remember I mentioned games, so they can play these games. If you notice right here, it's got the levels, and whatever level they're on, that's what level they play the games on. Here's an example of a game.
Word sort.
Jew, spelled G+E. Change.
All right. Well, so the results go directly to the teacher for her portal view. Looks like this: their name, their unit, grade, date, time, and how many they got correct. Assessment drives instruction, right? Everything is data driven. Your teacher meetings, your plannings, parent meetings, all of this information is accessible for those, for that use. So these are our print components, your TE and student work text along with some cards that come with it. On page 22, you should be able to see the resources for the program. And you have digital components. You have your teacher resource book for differentiated instruction, your differentiated spelling test. So you remember how I said you have 3 levels? You have the on level, below level, and on levels for spelling. You also have standardized test assessment format that you can also give in standardized tests. So your spelling tests for standardized will come on level, below level, or above level. Some people have said it's great for RTI. It's great, you can use the same spelling program for all levels because it places them off the post-test at their level of proficiency. And so that's where we teach them, at their level of proficiency. You have your ELL strategies that I shared with you. You have them here. And if you have a Spanish program, we created also a Spanish format where they have their word list and activities. We're the only standalone spelling program in this adoption. So I've shared with you how our program is systematic and explicit, can be taught in 10 to 15 minutes a day, integrated into your program. And when you have programs like ours that are systematic and explicit, time-saving, it gives your students opportunities to shine, right? So I'm going to leave you with one last thought. What can you get for 10 cents a day? Somebody told me earlier, but a small sip of that famous coffee. Not a whole gulp, just a sip, right? You can get 12.5% of this dry erase. Or you can get a pedicure, but only one toe. And depending where you go, it might be that pinky toe, not, or half of the pinky toe, right? Not the whole toe. Or for 10 cents a day, you can give your students literacy success by using our Zaner Bloser handwriting and spelling program that costs about 10 cents a day per student for the life of the adoption, along with the portal. And we aim to help you make your students a success and help you give them literacy success. And speaking of success, it's built into our DNA along with our parent company highlights. And for spending your time with us today, we'd like to share with you a copy of our Texas edition for Highlights magazine. So thank you for your time. Thank you.
We're highlights. Now, do any of you have any children you want to take an extra copy to, so they don't fight?
I would say grandchildren, but no one in here looks old enough to have a grandchild. And she's like, what's that?
And it's a Texas edition.